time you're not bothered about.
Swinton have changed their badge. Welcome to the podcast. I bring you a reading. Today's reading. I could be the next. We're joking out. You said I could be the next host of Match of the Day. There's more chance of becoming the next Archbishop of Canterbury.
Or the next host of Jack and Ori.
Jack and Ori. I bring you a reading.
Ask your, was it grandparents?
Yeah.
Jack and Ori.
But weren't they works of fiction? Whereas this is non-fiction. This is Gary Scurfield's season diary, 1992.
I think you'll find that might be a work of fiction. No.
In association with Phil Kaplan. This was your first. Was it a New York Times bestseller? I made the national sporting headlines the morning after. This is Scully, who of course is in the national sporting headlines. After the following comments were picked up in my Sunday column that the England Rugby Union team were boring. I would do the voice, but I can't do it as good. I had watched the incessant hype before the game with the French, and then sat through the match, which for me had been less than inspiring. All the stars were out there, but were so underutilised by the tactics employed that someone like Rory Underwood might as well have been sitting next to me on the settee watching the game on television. Imagine that as he's invented Gogglebox.
Did he use the word incessant?
Apparently. The commentators and analysts were continually saying what a marvellous, exhilarating game it was, but I just could not see it as a spectacle. Rather than being disparaging about another sport, my aim was to appeal for recognition of rugby league on its merits and for our code to get equal treatment, publicity and coverage. I knew that would probably never happen, and that the Rugby Union Internationals would generate an atmosphere and occasion irrespective of the product on offer. The remarks must have ruffled a few feathers, however, as they were apparently picked up by Radio 5 and made into a news story and commented upon during the day. Must have been a slow news day, mustn't it? Which I had not realised at the time, because Scotty's listening to Radio Air or something. A lot of people I knew told me that they had thought the points made were justified and fairly represented a growing body of opinion, but not everyone, even within Rugby League, shared or agreed with them, although I defended my right to say them. I even reiterated an offer for the Great Britain Rugby League team to play the England Rugby Union team in a charity match under any rules, which was an idea first proposed by Maurice Lindsay in 1990, when he was trying to promote the first test against the Aussies at Wembley during a publicity lunch in London that was attended by several leading Rugby Union correspondents. That's a long sentence.
Yeah. I don't think he uses the word disparaging either.
It was meant as a realistic challenge, although I am sure that it will never happen, mainly because everyone knows there would only be one winner. Gary Edward Scurfield, in his book, Gary Scurfield's Season Diary, out now in charity shops and eBay for 25p. You spoke to him. You spoke to him.
We've texted.
Yeah.
He's all right. He's relieved at the decision he's made to move away from anything to do with the sport.
Public life.
Yes. Clearly, obviously, we wish him nothing but the best in his in his medical plight that he's currently going through, and it's a shame that it has to end because of that. But I think he was becoming a little bit disenchanted with rugby league, and he'd sort of made the decision to walk away from it at this time anyway, because he's 16 his next birthday. Although he's going to Australia next year to the State of Origin as a guest of the NRL.
Are they going to...
As his 60th birthday.
So if we see him on telly,
yeah,
it's not him.
It's not that he's walked away from the game. It's like, I've walked away from the game unless I get hospitality when...
I hope he stays for a few days as opposed to when he went over... Was it Melbourne for the World Cup where he went and then came back within 24 hours?
I think he's there for a while, I think.
Oh, good.
For his 60th birthday.
Phil says, have I turned into a podcast or an episode of Jack and Ori? Well, that's what you said, wasn't it? You see? Can we do the CBeebies bedtime story? There's no swearing in the book, I don't think.
No swearing.
Gary did well with that book, says Paul. No spell check in those days. Must have had help.
The shame was, the premise for doing the book was because he was going to captain Great Britain to World Cup victory at Wembley against Australia in 1992. The only flaw was they actually lost the game, which he did blame John Devereux for.
Where are we?
On many an occasion.
Chapter 5, cometh the hour. Chapter 6, not cometh the man. Dear me. Chapter 6, the World Cup final. I slept well and... I can't just read this. Anyway, they don't win, as you said. So
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
no.
And then he fell out with Doug Lawton, which is in there, but
On returning to Leeds that Sunday evening, I took the kids out for tea, not having seen them for a few days, and my son, who was only 2.5, met with me and said, "I saw you on the telly, Dad. Did you win?" Which only served to bring home the disappointment. I mean, I'm assuming that was a regular thing after. Bit harsh. Welcome to the programme. It's not the end of the season yet because there's still wheelchair internationals to go. We've still got Sunday at Headingley to look forward to. But the Pacific Championships are finished. And
Yes.
Canada played the USA in the final of the qualification for the World Series qualification.
the Americas.
So there's still been plenty of rugby.
Yes.
Just all in a condensed 12-hour period on
And
Saturday.
all international, which is fantastic.
The Australians love International Rugby League now, again.
It's
which
sexy.
is good, isn't it? Yeah.
It's sexy. People are turning up and watching it. Loads of people are tuning in. They can make money on the back of it. Tonga were fantastic. Pushed the Aussies pretty close. Aussies too good. Tom Dearden, outstanding. Kiwis who were under pressure to stay in the Pacific Cup, not get relegated to the Bowl when they played the Bowl winners Papua New Guinea. Turned on a bit of a show. Casey McLean, the next cab off the rank, 4 tries on his international debut. PNG could have been ahead just before half time, but Rhys Martin's try was disallowed and they didn't recover from conceding 2 tries just before the whistle. But it was great. It was really good. The Gillaroos obviously barely concede a try. Two minutes into their, was it 3rd game of the series, they finally conceded a try.
I do think maybe I was a bit harsh last week when I said England would lose by 50, but they are quite good, the Gillaroos. Like, it wasn't a disrespectful thing to the English. It was this is how good the Australians are thing.
And I think also that the Gillaroos experimented a tiny. There were a couple of their top. I mean, their Woman of Steel equivalent, the Dally M winner, didn't play, wasn't selected. So they've got a fair amount of depth, and they were fantastic. And then Samoa, who have qualified for the Women's World Cup, they did beat Papua New Guinea, the Orchids, and they did get promoted. So it was all going on.
Elsie Albert scored though, so that was good. PNG scored a try.
Twice.
So they scored a couple of tries, so that was good. I'm not going to reveal who my new favourite player is because usually when I do they end up retiring, so I'm going to keep it secret for now. But anyway, so it was a good Sunday for rugby league, which we say Canada beat the USA as well in the North American qualifiers.
Shani Crown got a hat trick.
Yeah, and
Megan
the pitch was
Pakulis
weird.
too.
Pitch was weird.
Pitch was bizarre.
Posts were in the wrong place. But
Or they were in the right place and the pitch was wrongly marked. One or the other.
so Rod Studd didn't see it, did he? Apoplectic. It must be a
for
North
those-
American thing.
For those that didn't watch, the posts weren't on a line with the try line, they were on a line with the dead ball line, which was just... So players were scoring tries when it looked like they hadn't crossed the plane.
Neil Summers. So when Hunslet had their American football posts, were they in the right place?
The tuning fork was on the dead ball line, and then the U came up
Above
so the
where
posts
right.
were in line with the try line. But obviously you couldn't grubber through and hit the post because there was no post to hit.
That's one of the great innovations of rugby league. Will the Gillaroos pick English-born players who now live there? Do they have they do have previous in the men's game? Says Paul. Oh, that standards on the
Eligibility. No.
I mean, that is the good thing that Stuart Barrow said. Was it last year or whenever I asked him the question about would he go down the line of picking Welsh players in the way that maybe the England men's team have done, and he said no.
Morgan Knoll.
Yeah, he said no, they wouldn't. So, for that England Wales, England Yorkshire Lancashire mid-season thing.
We've got the player pool, and they're trying to build there, so it makes no sense.
Anything else happened? No, that's the end of the podcast.
Joseph Swalihi.
I've heard of him. Yeah, apparently he played his first ever game of rugby, so that was exciting, wasn't it?
And in all of the talk of he's joined the big
boys. Yeah,
the truth is that if I was a sport where you could get picked for your international team without ever playing a club game, I would be slightly concerned about how hard or easy it is to play international rugby league.
This is not like the players playing for the England wheelchair team after 8 months. because this is a brand new. This is a sport that's 20 years old as opposed to one that's
Yes.
it's older than rugby league.
Yes.
I've heard of it. I've seen it on the telly. But,
So I think all of the code wars that broke out, we see all this. He's brilliant, yeah, but we see that every week. It's more about how can you actually be drafted into a national team. What is the selection criteria? If you can be that good, never having played a club.
But I'd have to Dom Young now because Ross Heppenstall wrote it in the Telegraph. The Telegraph have discovered rugby league.
Not only,
How did
only
this
when
happen?
somebody
Not the Sydney
switches.
one. Not the Sydney one.
That's why
The actual Telegraph.
Saturday will be interesting with this 7-4-5 game.
Sunday. Don't get people
Sunday.
going on Saturday. Sunday.
Who will turn up from the press? That's almost as exciting as who will turn up on the field.
What, like Stephen Jones from the Sunday Times?
Will anybody write features from Rugby Union about seeing a glimpse of the future?
Because that's what that's the. I don't know what the rules are going to be. I should ask, shouldn't I? I shouldn't. I'm going.
We have listed the rules in the new copy of 4020 out on Friday. In time for the game.
There you go. But it's some kind of hybrid thing.
It's sort of not. It's rugby league with an uncontested line out tagged on. But if you don't kick for touch, you don't have a line out.
I'm going to have to ask Luke Gale. Has he been practising the throwing in bit?
Well, the other thing is, in your own half, when you're moving out of it, it's unlimited possession.
Right.
When you move into the attacking half, as in the opponent's half of the field, 6 tackles.
Right.
5 metres rather than 10. Now
that's for the traditionalists.
Well, that might be because the players are old.
Players are old, yeah.
But I'm looking forward to seeing that because
Luke Gale's just won the Ray French Award as man of the match in the 1895 Cup final. There's no more prestigious honour.
He could still play, but it'll just be interesting because history starts at a point that you don't see. You can only look back on it and say it was at that moment that things changed, and we have no idea what's going to happen, and we've no idea where we'll all be in 10, 15, 20 years. So I have a feeling I know where I'll be. But we may look back at this game and say the germination of an idea started there.
Is Max Boyce going to be there, or are we going to have to be?
Well, no, the thing is, it's 13 aside, and this change for me. This changes everything because this is watching a game of rugby league with a little add-on, not watching a game of rugby union with 15 players that we're allowed possibly to ignore a knock on or something.
There's weird things stick with you, and I remember on Sky it would have been the mid-90s, I think, they had a report on there was a cricket game that they'd invented called Cricket Max, and the basic idea was if you hit the ball into a certain zone you get double runs, and of course this went nowhere. But then we end up with 2020 cricket, and then we end up with the 100, which is another. So all these things start from somewhere. And this could indeed go to absolutely nothing.
And we've tried hybrid before, but it's been hybrid based on rugby union. This is hybrid clearly based on rugby league. So that's what makes it interesting. It may come to nothing. The other games that we've seen have been rugby union players aren't very good at rugby league players aren't quite so good at rugby union. What does that tell you? Nothing. Or we've got a half playing one rules, we've got a half playing other rules. This is the potential to be something that's worth being at just because it could be the start of something.
And if it isn't, what have you done? You've wasted an afternoon.
Well, you've donated to a fantastic charity. So it's a no-lose afternoon. So I'm looking forward to it because it will raise far more questions than it answers.
Like, we'll be saying, who's that? Who's that? Because it's already a rugby union player.
Hope the ground announcers.
I know Luke Gale. I recognise it. Right, that's Gareth Ellis. He's written a book.
Keith Senior. He's bald.
Yeah, he's that fella. Yeah. Ask him about Sheffield afterwards. Yeah. So that's Sunday. If you're at the loose end, go to Headingley. Watch something interesting.
Donate money to MND. Watch something that you may walk away and go, I never want to see that again, or you might walk away and think, oh, I just wonder.
Just get Kevin Sidfield running around the pitch for the whole match, just
training for his December the 1st. Yeah. Well, that's why he's not playing apparently.
No. It's the Dom Young story is very much his agent trying to get him some more money, isn't it? Yeah, that's what agents do.
Yeah, no, that's and you want, as a player, you want to be linked with any high-profile opportunity because your value is then increased. So yeah, he's not going to say, "Oh no, I hate." He might be dumb. We could give you £3 million and you'll never need to touch the ball.
He's from South Leeds. That's the bit where he's nearer Sandal, where they've got a rugby union team, and he went to the same school that Stuart Lancaster used to teach at.
Oh well, they all rugby union by osmosis.
Yeah, so that's his origin story. If he did go, there's the things that, as opposed to when Kieran Cunningham didn't go, and then they said, "No, he's not really Welsh. Didn't really fancy him anyway."
Origin though, it's not happening. All the hype, Yorkshire, Lancashire, it's off for at least a year.
I know. What's Sean Wayne going to do? What's he going to get? What Randy Laston-Lee Bray's going to do now?
Apparently nothing, because they're not even going to have a mid-season international against France. But we don't know any of this. It's all pure speculation.
Like our promotion and relegation's coming back after.
In the 21st of November or something, the fixtures are released. Then we'll know who's playing who and what the calendar is.
And the clubs reveal their first fixture the night before, to the excitement of everyone going, "Ooh, Wakefield have got."
And then you work out that you actually know the first 2 rounds of fixtures, because not everybody's at home the first round.
I mean, I've just said Wakefield play Catalan's way. I don't know that. I'm just making that up because they send Wakefield to France in February when it's cold.
Well, and the story would then be the 2 players who've moved from Catalan to Wakefield.
Of course. And the is it a return of Sam Tompkins now, or is it?
No, he's back.
He's back.
He's back. He's in training.
I've seen the picture. They show the picture. All the kits are coming out. That's exciting.
Well, I mean,
Saints kit's got a red V on it. Can't believe it.
The amount of social media on the new kits.
Cherry and white hoops at Wigan.
Have we ranked them yet?
Not yet, but I've not even ranked this year's kits yet. I've been lazy with the video making this year, so I need to do that as well. Here's last year's kits ranked.
Well, you might as well.
It's better than Swinton's new badge though, because that's.
Is it not good?
No, it looks very AI generated. I mean, it might not be, but. These are all the big rugby league issues of the day. Carson says, "We know exactly what will happen on Sunday. Fans of both codes will be moaning." Well, I mean, if they're Welsh, they might want something different because they're not very good, are they? So, you know. At least the Welsh Rugby League appears to look after the women's players anyway.
I don't think anybody will moan, because the worst that'll happen is it won't be entertaining. But I think there'll be points scored, and there'll be people that you haven't seen play for a while, and we'll read too much into it about if this was ever going to be adopted. You know, would we go and watch it? And actually, it is the first ball across the net in what could be a very long 5-set tennis tournament to mix
like the
metaphors.
Nicholas Mahou and John Isner match, the one that went on forever.
Could be.
This could be what breaks rugby in America. No, maybe not. What else happened in the last? I feel like that. I know we've got to talk about the big transfers. We've got to talk about those. But has anything else happened that I've forgotten about yet? Apart from the Saints have got a new kit, and they accidentally released their away kit as well, which has got Saints on it in big letters just in case they forget.
And there's a holographic image.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, that, isn't it? And the on the video, the final frame of the video, they've got their old badge on the bottom. She's like, oh.
I think you're looking into too much detail.
Well, this is what you've got to do, and you've got to look on social media for clues as to why things are happening. I'm trying to think of anything. There's been no exciting signings now, have they? They all happened in the middle of the season.
It was rumoured that the Aussies were going to make a major rule change, which they actually weren't. Oh. So while people were busy writing stories about the impact it would have, they'd already announced it wasn't happening. So we don't need to. Well, that was to do with kickoffs, like in
the NFL. I still haven't figured out. Are we on week 10 now? I've still not worked that one out yet. But
to lessen the collision, but it's not happening. So we don't need to debate that.
Good old Scott Hansen and the Octobox. I
was trying to think.
It has been a weirdly quiet. Has everyone been on holiday? I thought the journalists been on holiday or something. Where's all the clickbait stuff for me to?
I do think we should pay credit to Jason Taumalolo.
Well, he has,
because again, when you look back to where something started, and then you look at the impact it's had, and you realise it's been really, really significant. His decision to choose his nation of heritage, which then meant 3 or 4 other players immediately did likewise, was never going to have an impact just overnight, although it clearly did raise the stakes. But you look at it 7 years down the line and how important it is at the moment for particularly Pacific Island nations players to be playing for their nation of heritage. We suddenly have an international product the Aussies are now talking about selling. Now they can only sell something if it looks and is deemed to be by enough people competitive and meaningful. So the first or second or third time you do it, people are still going, I'm not sure. Here we are 7 years down the line, and Tonga have pushed Australia all the way in the Pacific Championship final. Samoa got to a World Cup final. People like Jerome Luai, who we had the pleasure of interviewing, Ben Gardner, who was, I think, excellent as a Samoa coach, telling us what it meant. We saw it with Ireland, didn't we, in the last World Cup? Mentioned Luke Keary last week, I think, that he wasn't here as a plastic Irishman, for want of a better phrase. You know, he spoke as articulately and passionately about it as anybody in the World Cup in 2022. So I think that legacy of Taumalolo and that, I think it was that gang of five that first moved over. We should be looking at it now and saying that has completely regenerated and revitalised International Rugby League to the point where the Aussies are now saying we need to do more of this. Mal Meninga, I think, has been the instigator in the Kangaroos coming here as much as anybody, because he started saying we want to showcase this, it's brilliant. I think Andrew Abdo and Peter Volandis, who needed convincing that there was an economic reason to do it, have started saying, I think we can make some money out of this. There is a commercial imperative that we can link into. I think the fact that that even the Kiwis, who didn't have a brilliant tournament, the whole Sean Johnson came back and was. I watched the interview he gave after they'd beaten PNG, and that was his final game, and it meant as much to him as anything he's done in his career. It didn't matter, it was PNG in a promotion relegation game. You looked at the crowds, you thought, there's been buying in Christchurch, there's been buying in Parramatta, 30-odd thousand in Brisbane. I think, what was it, 150,000 people just short of went to live matches across the Pacific, which included first time ever games being played in Fiji, so that's opening up another market. Television figures, if the ones that we've seen coming in from Australia, broken some more records for recent international matches into the million. Again, that's a lot of people watching rugby league outside of rugby league season. They wouldn't watch it if they didn't think it was meaningful competition. So I think the regeneration of internationals, of which England and Samoa needs to play its part, of which all of the World Cup qualifiers, all of that being played in this window, this 4-week window, the game feels different. There's a real positivity about the pinnacle of the sport, which I think we'd lost.
There's plenty of heritage in the women's game as well, isn't there now, and people going and playing for Samoa or whatever. And as excited as we are for England, Australia, which hasn't been confirmed yet, how exciting is it going to be?
5 venues.
I know. How exciting is it going to be when Tonga play Samoa next year in the Pacific Cup? And people saying they should play in a 50,000-seater stadium because they'll sell it out because the people are passionate.
Well, it's
people.
Tonga, Samoa and New Zealand.
Who's going to win that competition next year?
Well,
you beat Tonga favourites.
If you're talking about
even though they lost to England 3-0
Pacific Championship, they are the three big Pacific rivals, and the fact that Australia isn't playing and they are, and any one of the three of them could win it, that's why you'll get 50,000. And the atmosphere in Australia, Tonga, you sat on a couch at 5 o'clock in the morning, 12,000 miles away, and the hymns start, and you cannot fail to be caught up in all of that, and you're thinking, this is all being done in the name of rugby league, and you don't see it in rugby union, because the national sport of the Pacific virtually now is rugby league, and so many of their players are playing in the NRL. They've become so recognisable back in the islands. I think this autumn has been really significant.
The one thing that will break through into America will be the Pacific Islands.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of Pacific Islanders in America.
Yeah, absolutely. And it might not be playing a domestic competition. It's great to have a domestic competition. There should be one, but it'll never be at the ultra elite level. But if you can keep bringing national teams over that represent those Pacific nations, people will turn up in their droves.
So 2026 you have Tonga Samoa in the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas.
Salt Lake City.
That's the idea.
Or wherever.
It's going to be there. I mean, you just can't fail to think and be excited for that fixture.
But I also think we've now got administrators
who
want to promote it because they can see the value.
Do the administrators here, i.e. the club owners, realise that.
No, what they want is money. And what they're not going to get is much more money out of the domestic competition. The revealing thing about IMG, which John was talking a little bit about when he was on last week, was that they were talking to Sky to do our last negotiation, and but for their involvement and the agreement to film every game, which had a cost against it, which instead of it being paid to the club, Sky paid that cost. That would have gone down even further if IMG hadn't been involved. That's IMG's take on it. I've no reason to doubt it. So I don't think our product necessarily is going to garner the kind of money that our clubs need in the near future if the competition itself isn't changing. What might is if we have a series against the Kangaroos over here and we get something like 150,000 people watching it live in the stadium, and that ticket money goes back into the game over here, and that gets distributed, and or the BBC pay a proper rights fee for it because it's going to give them 3 really high profile Saturday afternoon or maybe one Sunday matches, you would think, if the venues are right, if it can coincide at least with one football international weekend. So that's where the money's going to come from here in the short term. So yes, I think we're pretty passionate about international rugby because it's our only cash cow at the
And
moment.
they haven't got the International Rugby Union, apart from Wales and S4Cs, that doesn't count. So
they could make a really big deal out of a Kangaroo series against England in the right venues with the right amount of people in them to give you the atmosphere and backdrop for the neutrals to start saying, oh, I might go to the second or third, or I'll definitely watch it.
So we need some ambitious venues then, don't we? That's
but we're not going to. The thing about the ambitious venues is you need to announce it before Christmas if you're going to fill an ambitious venue. If you're not going to announce it until 3 months before, you might as well pick the smaller venues because you'll fill them. But
the RFL are waiting for the arrival of some official Great Britain socks that they can give away with the tickets before Christmas.
Whatever it might be. If you can get people buying tickets as Christmas presents, then I think you can look at the bigger venues and you would sell them out.
Carson and I have got a tinfoil hat on all the time. There's no coincidence, just conspiracy. Good news, says Paul. Brodie Cross needs to be staying at Headingley. What if I come along with £250,000? Then what? And say to Mr. Hetherington, I've got £250,000 here. I'm coming from the Pyongyang pylons.
I think he would take it.
Still...
But I think, yes, the date beyond which he theoretically is available to sign for an NRL club has passed. But that doesn't mean the club couldn't come back and say, because we're inconveniencing you by buying him out of contract, here is a wheelbarrow. How many notes would you like in it?
When does his contract run out?
I don't know, end of next year.
Oh, so by December 1st he could sign with anyone for next year, and then we all go, like that. Excitement. Players are moving.
I also think, and this is pure speculation, it's nothing to do with anything that's informed. That won't surprise you.
Informed.
That if Leeds were to let him go because they were to get a transfer fee for him, they would already have somebody lined up.
That's a good idea. That's a good
plan.
It's a good plan. Paul says, name an ambitious venue in Yorkshire. Bellevue. It's ambitious. It's got a stand.
We didn't say that any of the games would be in Yorkshire.
Middlesbrough. That's in Yorkshire. There you go. There's your answer, Paul. Middlesbrough.
I'm not sure. If we had enough time to promote it properly, I would have a game in the Yorkshire area.
Is that like the Yorkshire areas in the Yorkshire TV area, which stretches down to Chesterfield and Lincoln? Yeah, we're off to Sincil Bank,
Villa Park, with the aerial twisted.
Emily Moore's massive. So Phil and Carson are having an argument about the Dolphins, how they're going to do next season, because Phil says we need to acknowledge the great job that Kristen Wolf has done, and Carson thinks that he put Wayne. I thought, Sean Wayne. What's Sean Wayne got to do? No, it's Wayne Bennett, Supercoach. His teams usually crash and burn in the second season after he left. You're Brisbane, so do you want the Dolphins to succeed? Or
yeah,
that's all right.
I think with Herbie Farnworth there, they're got one of the stars of the competition, aren't they?
The greatest centre in the world.
I think Christian Wolf knows exactly what he's getting himself into in terms of he's seen what's happened to people like Jason Demetriou after Wayne Bennett's recommended them and then walked away, and it hasn't quite gone the way they wanted to. I think Christian Wolff is shrewd enough to know that there'll be some things he needs to do to stamp his own personality on that team, and he will. And again, I think going back to the impact of International Rugby League, the fact that Tonga's rise has been under Christian Wolff doesn't go unnoticed.
If you do want us to talk about anything, now is your opportunity. Because
we don't know what we're talking about.
No, it's nearly finished. It is that weird bit where this is the problem with all the transfers happening early. The off season, there's nothing happening apart from people making things up to talk about. They're changing all the rules. I mean, we have got the rules to look forward to. That will be.
We start getting excited, don't we, about the fixtures coming out? The fixtures coming out. Everybody's going to play each other.
Challenge Cup draws coming up in Gull. They seem to have signed everyone from Hull and Hull KR and Leeds.
Well, mainly Hull, to be honest. I think they've signed 18 players so far, and at least 15 of them have got links with Hull. Well, it'd be interesting to see who Hull A get in the first round.
Are Gull then is their professional team a continuation of their amateur team, as in?
No, they've got two separate teams. So the amateur team is still going to play in Division 5 of the Yorkshire Men's League, and one of their players has been signed by the professional team.
Because I'm assuming that Gull would have played in the Challenge Cup before, or they might not have done.
They played in the Challenge Cup in the 1930s.
There you go. Is that the same Gull? Or is it a different Gull?
They played out the same venue, but clearly that team lapsed. And
will we have proper promotion and relegation again in Super League? Says Andrew. I don't finish the question.
Well, the answer's no.
If the proposal by the Batley chairman comes off,
no, because it won't come off. You either have grading or you have promotion relegation. Talking of hybrids, there is no hybrid. If you're going to say to a team, it doesn't matter about your grade if you win the championship.
Because then you just spend all your money on really good players, and that's what Featherstone did.
Any team at the top of the championship is going to be a grade B. Any team at the bottom of Super League that could get relegated is going to be a grade B. That's where grading comes in. One will be a better club than the other. It's not about just what you do on the field.
But as you said before,
well, here's the anomaly.
Championship and League One
makes no sense. No. Because Swinton and Hunslet played in a game to determine promotion relegation, and Swinton were a higher ranked graded team than Hunslet.
I think Hunslet got promoted. I've seen more people with the Hunslet trophy than I have seen with Wigan's trophy. They won everything. So well done to Hunslet on getting your trophy out. That trophy's too fancy for the playoff final in League One. I'm sorry, there's something gone wrong there. That should be.
I can understand why Batley would propose it, because opponents of a system like to put spanners in works and test it out, but I can't see there being enough clubs that would support that. Certainly not every club that's currently in Super League.
No. Batley released out. Huddersfield have released their kit. It looks like a Batley kit, but that's the problem having colours that are racing.
Huddersfield have got a new direction.
They have. We like Andy Kelly, don't we? Because he was part of our team at Radio Yorkshire back in the olden days.
But he's just
really
a top
good
guy.
Yeah, really good analyst as well.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that you kind of think, it's a shame he's never been on telly and stuff, because he's really good at what he does.
I don't know what the director of rugby role means for Huddersfield specifically, because every sporting director of rugby is slightly different in each club. If he's now taking over the mantle of recruitment and retention, that could be a very significant move for Huddersfield.
For his story to be binned by a terrible regime at Wakefield, you wonder where they would have gone under. Well, would have gone bust anyway. To coach Ireland in the World Cup in 2000, which we talked about last week, and put that and get that team together and working well, get them to the quarterfinals, to then go step back with.
They were matching it with England.
Step back at Gateshead when they'd reformed, and then find himself at Huddersfield and bring so many young players through.
When they didn't have any.
Now they're everywhere. One of the good guys.
Yep.
So it's good to see him.
It could be a very significant appointment for Huddersfield, depending on what his job description is.
And always on the touchline doing stuff for whichever coach is in charge. Yep. Mainly lots of caretakers, and it must be great for Luke Robinson to have him there with all that experience. And
I think that's the important thing, that they've worked together with Andy Kelly in a slightly different role, bringing youngsters through. So the two of them effectively running the rugby operation side of things that's why I think it might be significant. And then we'll do our predictions in February. Huddersfield at 11th.
Paul says, any news on the mythical Rugby League Museum ever being built and where? But here.
Mythical. I mean, there is.
I thought when he said mythical, he was going to talk about Pyongyang again or something.
There is a bid currently in place from Wigan Council to have it at the Edge in the centre of Wigan, which has been initially accepted by Rugby League Cares, who are running the process. They're talking about heads of agreement. I don't know if they've got to the point where they've actually presented them. The issue with all councils at the moment, as we saw with Bradford Council when they were first given the nod, then Kirklees Council when it was going to be at the George Hotel, is that councils have very little money to underwrite projects that only appeal to a very small part of the voting public when the purse is so tight. And things like healthcare.
Yes. Slightly more important than
not only more important, but if you've got a limited budget and it's across the entire borough, that's what you've got to spend it on. So it's still in debate. I don't know how much further down the line it is to actually becoming reality.
I mean, if they do want my collection of scanned programs just to stick on a website somewhere, they're more than willing to share that with people. I've got all these random things. Especially Trafford Borough versus Wakefield Trinity A in the Alliance League. That was a great one. Hopefully you enjoyed that.
Any names there that went on to make fabulous careers?
Guy Van Bellen, whose son used to be my vice captain at the Wakefield Outlaws. The fine
whose father was a good player.
Yeah. I think future Wakefield Trinity Hall of Famers Gary Price and Johnny Thompson were playing.
See that you put a programme up today about the Great Britain under 24s
yes.
playing France, and the great thing about those programmes is to look at the team sheets, not so much to see the ones that did make it, but what happened to the ones that didn't.
But you see, did everyone look really old in the 70s?
It was a tough time.
What's going on?
We had 3-day weeks and power cuts and things.
I'm going to shave my beard off at some point this week. I'll look young again, but it's like these people all looked in their 50s.
We had petrol rations. Ice on the inside of the windows when you woke up on a morning.
And yet Rugby League still somehow...
Well, in the early 70s it was very, very close to... as close as it's been to... disappeared.
How could we afford to get the French under 24s over and we can't get the French
77 team? We were getting out of it,
getting
but the early 70s...
Maggie Thatcher's coming. She's going to save us. It's in that book. Andrew Broxton's written it. Maggie Thatcher saved Rugby League. That's not what it's called. Martin O'Fire said we should spend 10... I didn't click on the link because I thought I'm not going to click on it. We said spend £10 million on Owen Farrell. When are we getting Mike Fordson anyway?
Well,
we can't kick now, so
why
we don't
is
want
Owen Farrell worth £10 million?
I don't know.
And to who?
I'm still confused when they say the Queen's ill. I'm thinking, hang on,
I haven't got a Queen.
I know.
Has somebody not told them?
No. Andrew says, will a nice new shiny badge like Swinton Lions get you some IMG points? Will it people interact and say it's rubbish or it's great?
I don't think the badge itself gets you any points. Is it rubbish or great?
I don't really like it, but it's just a bit. It just looks a bit AI-y in the way that you can tell things are generated. Yeah. As a non-graphic designer, I don't know if I'm the right person to comment, but I don't like it. So, you can have an opinion. It's like art, isn't it? Do you like art? Or
Mr. G. Schofield?
Yeah, I've done some art.
Can I have an opinion?
I've done some.
Nobody can have an opinion these days.
I've done some art.
Does that sound like it?
Yeah. Because it's of someone I kind of know. I don't really want to share the art with them just in case they think it's terrible.
Well, your art.
But my picture of Paige Travis, that's all right.
Fine.
I don't know Paige Travis, so that's fine. Speaking of St Helens, they've made a big swoop in the women's transfer market. I couldn't believe it.
Players.
Well, I couldn't believe it when they announced Amy Hardcastle. I thought, well, where's the other two going? But they ended up there anyway.
These media managers that have to announce a transfer every day rather than all three together.
Someone asked me and I thought they're all going to go together, and then they did. And of course they were all together. So Leeds have lost Amy Hardcastle, legend of the game. She's going to be in the Hall of Fame. She's in that team of the decade or whatever that... what did I say? The NRL put together.
Not a huge surprise.
Shona Hoyle.
Not a huge surprise.
Gone straight back to St Helens. and Caitlin Casey.
That's the surprise.
Young gun, as I believe we have to call her.
That's a surprise on two fronts. One, obviously, that she's relatively early in her career and feels that move is going to benefit her. But also, how does she fit in her set?
Well, I'm guessing she's
Who's not playing next year?
Faye Gaskin.
Really?
Well,
do you think her?
I don't think she's coming back, is she?
Well, the interview she gave on the touchline, that I might be coming back.
She might go to Leeds. Maybe Leeds could sign Faye Gaskin.
What about Amy Taylor?
I don't know, she used to be the odd one out there now, doesn't she? So
and she's now.
Would you sign her at Leeds? Get her in.
I don't.
Leeds need to sign some people.
I think Leeds do need to sign a couple of players.
I don't think it's a. I don't think it's a massive surprise. But then if here's the interesting things about the transfer. One, if I mean, is looking on Instagram journalism. Apparently, it is these days because they went on holiday together last year. So they're obviously close.
Yeah,
so if one leaves and the other leaves, and then the younger player's there as well, then they might all follow together.
I think again, it depends what you want your team to look like, and if you've got a lot of young players coming through who are having their path blocked by extremely talented but older players, at some point you need to make a decision. Now, I'm not sure Leeds would have wanted to lose Caitlin Casey as part of that process, but the onus is on them either to now promote and possibly have a year or two where the new incomers gel together and acknowledge that maybe it isn't a year for going to Wembley or making a grand final, or they now need to go out and say, right, we've got a different culture, we've got a different set of players, who do we need to go and attract to try and fill a couple of gaps that we've now got that maybe we didn't think we'd have. Because don't forget they lost Zoe Hornby as well, which is more, as much if not more of a loss, because she was just on that real upward curve.
And we're still waiting for her to go to York because everyone says she's going to go to York. So,
but because
they haven't made any.
I mean, we could start some transfer,
start some rumours, yeah.
Transfer speculation. Yeah. And if you were Leeds, would you go for Amelia Brown?
Why not?
I would.
She's got a hat trick for England.
Well, but I also think it may develop her more as a player now that she's reached a level. If she was in a team that is more likely to be challenging for honours, that might be what her career now is, and everybody who supports Huddersfield will now go, oh, it's terrible, how can you?
Leeds to steal all the players, yeah.
But there's a gap maybe in that back division for Amelia Brown.
I mean, the fascinating thing about the statements from and interviews from Amy Hardcastle and Shona Hoyle, because they're the ones you can look at and go, well, that's interesting that they've said that, is that both mentioned the changing coaching at St Helens as part of their
going
reasoning.
Back to the coaching sector,
especially when
that they're used to.
In the last year, both said it was the travelling. Don't do the travelling anymore. So but then both have praised the coaching staff who were back in, who weren't there, and they both left during the reign of the previous coach. So that would suggest that maybe that was a factor as well.
Absolutely.
And Caitlin Casey.
What we do need to do is increase the pool of talent of women players, because what you don't want is to concentrate all the talent too much in one or two areas, because then the game never strengthens.
The problem is that's going to happen, though, isn't it? But how do we? Unless you have a draft, and then Huddersfield can pick up players, and Warrington can pick up players.
But then you're asking part-time players to play in places where they might not necessarily be closest to or want to play for, and that's hard. If it's your profession, it's a little bit different. If it's your, you talk to an American football player or basketball, have a draft as well. Once you become a professional player and you're paid X million quid, if somebody says, you used to be in San Diego, now you're in New York, they go, I'll just move to New York. You can't really do that with women's barely professional league.
It's like Eric Lindros not wanting to play in Quebec because they were rubbish, so they got traded to Philadelphia. So it will be interesting to see what happens next year, and we've still got all the other signings to come through, and this and that and the other, and at least we've got to replace the captain as well.
Yeah,
she retired.
Who knows if she'll now come back because they suddenly beg her for the experience. It wouldn't be the first time that's happened. Hello, Hannah.
What else has happened this week? That's the only, because that is the big transfer news, because it was on the BBC website and everything, because people have heard of Amy Hardcastle because she's famous.
Yes.
We just need to find some more famous people for when she retires. Because eventually she'll retire. She says she's 36 next year. Or something.
Never ask a lady.
Well, exactly. Well, I asked Paige Travis that, and I feared for my life, but I got away with it. But I don't know. So, she can't. But she can't play forever. She can't play forever.
Absolutely. And they have some very good youngsters at Saints. It may well be that the influence of her and Shona going back is also that next step in the long-term plan to bring a future generation through. And
you would assume that even if Leeds aren't going to contend for trophies, they'll still be in the top 4 and still...
You'd think so.
Yes. What's the chance group? Is it going to be a group next year, I think? Probably. Was this year? We'll find out. We'll see what happens.
The early stage of the 1895 Cup don't look like they're going to be a group. But when the fixtures come out,
the 1895 changes every year anyway. No one's bothered until you get to the actual final bit.
Yeah, semis get very important.
They're getting to the Wembley bit. It's like everything in... it's like all the football tournaments. Phil says, do you know how many people have taken out a subscription to Super League Plus? I heard yesterday that it was only 2,000. I've no idea. Where have you heard that from, Phil? Who's told you? Was it someone at the RFL? Was it RL Commercial? Did they tell you? I'm slightly concerned about the RFL in a minute, because now this Mark Aston story has picked up traction from the Times. Martin Ziegler's picked it up, and he's one of these top...
He's important.
He's a top sports journalist, not like...
Do you think of it Headingley on Sunday?
I don't know. There's the darts he's on, so he might be at the darts. Now it's been picked up by national newspapers and not the Rugby League
broadsheets,
parts of. And MPs, politicians getting involved, as you know, last week. Is this going to be the house of cards that all collapses in on himself? I don't know. I mean, I'm overplaying the story.
I think we mentioned it last week when we were trying to flesh it out a little bit, and obviously John's got involved in asking the kind of questions to the whole process that just need clarity, it would appear. Until Mark Aston decides whether he's appealing or not, it's very difficult to comment on. The facts that we do know are relatively sparse. Yes, there's an 18-page document that you can read, but the arguments appear to be around, was the procedure and the process the right one, and was the sentence befitting of the crime? Well, with no precedent, that's very hard to answer. I think the thing that will need to be established is if there has been an admission of guilt in this area, it's going to be hard to get that overturned. It is more about how has that admission come about, is that sound, and if that admission is accepted and has been made, then what is an appropriate punishment? And I certainly wouldn't feel confident at the moment about about trying to speculate how that's going to go.
And what does Sheffield do? Because they're in limbo. They're going in limbo.
They will appoint a new coach.
Will they be a coach who's an interim coach?
No, I don't think so.
You think this is the end of the...
For the time being, I think Sheffield are reconciled to the fact that this is a process that may well run. They're due to start pre-season training. They have to abide at the moment as a club by the ruling that's come down. They may decide to challenge that ruling, but somebody's got to take pre-season training probably next week or the week after. So I think you'll find a new head coach appointed at Sheffield at some point.
I can't think of another club which is more closely linked to one individual than that club and that individual. So the way things shake out after it, but as you say, it's just a waiting game now, isn't it? Until all these things are confirmed.
When you're dealing with legal precedent, it's very hard to... I mean, again, I'm not a huge fan of airing your defence in public before you've decided if you're even going to appeal. If you're going to appeal, go into the courtroom and give your defence, and then talk about the defence. I think if you put it all out in the open, but we haven't even got to the appeal process yet, you're almost showing your hand of poker before the other player's drawn their last card.
It's good that Saints Women have got their own sponsor now. And this is the thing, is if you've got different sponsors on your different teams, you can bring more money in. And you can buy their shirt now.
Leeds wheelchair team has a different sponsor.
Can't buy the wheelchair shirt though. Can't go on leedsrhinos.com website. It's not called that. It's called the rhinos.com. Can't go buy a shirt and get Boyd Ward 10 on the back of it. Think she'll change her number? I don't think she will. I don't think she'll.
It'd be interesting. I don't think James Simpson is too. I'm not going to speak for him. He's in New Zealand at the moment. But I don't think he'd be a proponent necessarily of number by position. I think he's still going to let Tom Halliwell be 7 if he wants.
Well, Phil's answered his own question about the Super League Plus numbers, so we don't need to go into that. But the great thing about the Super League Plus thing, I said this at the start of the season, the back end was built for them. It's an IMG or whatever the company is. That's what they use for all their other things. So it's just a matter of putting the content on there, which the content is being paid for and provided by the...
and I also think that next year they do need to look at timings of games so that they're not competing with themselves. How you do that, not easy, don't know. But you're going to get much more people subscribing to Super League Plus if 3 games aren't on at the same time.
And you need other...
You need
shoulder content. Is that what they call it these days?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You do.
I know they put the Kevin Sinfield documentary on there, but you had to pay a tenner to watch it. And for all the goodwill and stuff.
No, I get that.
No. So, will John Bateman be spending Christmas in the something at the West Tigers? In the UK or the West Tigers?
Penitentiary.
Right.
The West Tigers.
It's is he going to buy himself out of his contract like John T. Parkin? Is he going to have to?
I mean, the problem he's got is that obviously there's been a breakdown between those that coach at the club and someone who plays at the club. You very rarely get those mended to the point where it becomes harmonious. So maybe West may or may not be thinking about a player trade.
What to another NRL team?
I would have thought because of the contract he's on,
it's
going to be very hard for a British club to come in and buy it.
Unless they pay a lot of his
and Warrington
wages.
have announced their squad numbers. So
oh yes, they can't fit him in, can they?
He ain't going to play 36.
Their lilac kit.
Sold more than...
Yeah, I saw that. So they put a press release. I'm assuming they put a press release out about that because I'm not on their not on their list. So
I'd forgive me, I didn't look at the percentage. It's very, very popular.
It's interesting though. They've had that partnership with Hoover for a long time now, but it's only this year they've got rid of the red background and just gone with the word Hoover in big black letters. So maybe they're good people at the Hoover people. Who of course we like more than Dyson because they pay their taxes and stuff.
Is it J. Edgar Hoover?
J. Edgar, the FBI sponsors of Warrington. It looks nice. I quite like a lot of the kits that have come out this year. Obviously not Leeds because it's Leeds, but Carlson says not giving up hope. Phil, 3 question marks. I don't know what that's about because I can't remember what we've spoken about Leeds, apart from their women and James Simpson and Brodie Croft. Carsten, expand.
Always glass 3/4 full.
Then Vegas comes along, and then Amsterdam before Vegas. That's still coming. I don't think I'm going to go to Amsterdam in January.
I'll persuade you if I'm going.
No, I've got my passport now.
If I'm going, you'll be on the plane.
I've got an official, proper British tub thumping passport. His Britannic Majesty. He's letting me out of the country. Well, is it blue or black? It's like that dress, isn't it? We don't know. But yes, I am.
I don't think necessarily getting a ferry from Hull to Rotterdam in the middle of January is a great idea. So we'd have to fly.
He wasn't talking to you. He was talking to Phil on the chat because he's a West Tigers fan. Well, commiserations and condolences. Is there anything else to talk about? I mean, I've got these. I've got to show you these, listener. I've got some darts flights, 4020 darts flights. I'll give you details if you want some. I'll give you details next week on how you can get hold of them. But we've actually got.
And you can't buy them in shops.
Not available in the shops. Only available from this program. Other programs have like books and Patreons and stuff. We've got darts flights on a magazine,
and we give them away.
Well, in a sense. In a sense. More details on that next week. I don't think
new magazine out on Friday.
New magazine.
Have I mentioned?
What's in it? Brian Noble telling why he's gone to Bradford. Well, staying at Bradford.
It is. He does devote over half of his column to that very very topic.
I'm already there, so I'm staying.
I think we're just buoyant by the state of the international game. If you want a record of everything that's happened, got an interview with David Baines, the new head of the All-Party Parliamentary.
I need to get him on the podcast, yeah.
There's, yeah, I mean, Louis in his graduation outfit.
He's a proper fireman and everything.
He's a proper fireman.
I
think he does his first shift this week.
Do they teach them how to rescue cats, or is that just like they expect you to know how to do that? Yeah. No,
so he's in good form. Yeah, it is a jam-packed episode.
Are these? No, they're not. I don't know what happened to the Pyongyang Pylons jerseys, because I thought that deal had got across the line, so to speak, but it seemed to have gone quiet. But no, I'll be in touch, Carson, because I know you. How much do you reckon it'll cost to send a bit of plastic to Europe? Millions of pounds.
Who knows these days?
I might as well fly out there with my passport. I've only got 10 sets, and I need to keep one here, don't we? For the desk. But if they are popular, I'll get some more ordered. But I'll explain more next week, because you'll understand more next week. I think that's it. I think that is it. We've done 55 minutes, which is ridiculous because nothing's happened. It's a good job we've got some people watching and giving us questions to answer. But
anything we haven't answered?
No, I think that's it.
Is it time for a salted caramel pickup?
What's going to be the next thing after salted caramel? That is the question. I know this is very BBC local radio. You know, that could be the future.
Have you had these before?
I've not.
Oh, good.
They look a bit like triples for the people. See, I put the Fox's Biscuit logo on the podcast picture on YouTube, thinking we might get some free biscuits from Fox's.
Have we got any sponsors this week?
No, but I have got. I'll leave you with these lyrics.
Oh yes, that's the other thing.
Yeah, in 1975
for the World Cup.
Oh, Castle's got a UK postal address. It's all right. The 1975 World Championship, which ended with a special challenge match between England and Australia, just to sell tickets, and then only 7,000 people turned up at Headingley, which of course, as we know, is the home of international rugby
league.
League.
Although we are going to a hybrid game.
We had Leeds Tykes. They played there once. They must have played someone foreign.
As you'll be able to read in said magazine on Friday, there was a very important game there in 1943 between Rugby League and Rugby Union to raise money for the war.
In 1975. The good people at the Rugby Football League had an idea of releasing singles, and they did one for Wales as well, because there's that great picture of Jim Mills with the big headphones on, as if he was doing Band-Aid. As
opposed to his opponents using bandages.
The new official record. I'm going to start reading something. I'm going to end the podcast reading something. The new official record, Up and Under, recorded by the England Rugby League World Championship squad, is on sale at the ground today. Price 60p.
Bargain.
And it'll be now about 2p on Discogs. The record will also be played during this afternoon, and the England players are anxious for full vocal support to be rendered by their fans. The specially written song is reproduced below. Right. Verse 1. So, Carsten, I hope you're writing this down, because you are a patriotic Englishman, just like you and me and Phil. Here comes the pride of England, heroes all in white. 13 strong and dauntless, in the loose and in the tight. To prove we are the greatest the world has ever seen. The rampant Lions of England, the finest rugby team. Bear in mind, this is in the programme for the game after England have not won the World Cup.
Yeah.
Chorus. Up and under, go the boys of the English pack. The finest in the country, the strongest in attack. Up and under, this is what our country needs. Bearing in mind, this is 75, so is it still petrol rationing now?
Have we gone back? Yeah.
We will stand and cheer you, the English Rugby League.
So the back's no contribution at all. It's only the pack are the finest.
And isn't Up and Under a rugby union thing anyway?
Well, it was a film, wasn't it, with Samantha Janus?
Yeah, I was talking to Ian Boldsworth about that earlier. No more on that later, but not on the podcast. This is verse 2. There's a second verse. There'll always be in England.
That line's been used.
That's
before.
derivative, isn't it? Yeah. To fill our hearts with pride, marching on to glory.
Marching
so close.
Yeah.
With victory on our side. The Rugby League of England will always play to win. And that's a given.
Yep.
It's the Rugby League of England who keep on marching in. Surprisingly, this did not make the chart.
Does it say who wrote
it?
Those
Doesn't.
wonderful
It doesn't,
lyrics?
does it? So I don't know who wrote it.
I'm guessing Eddie Waring.
But what a song! What a song! I mean, I have got it on vinyl somewhere, but I haven't got a record player to play it on.
Oh, I have.
Which is
is it 45?
I don't know, but I'll try and find it. I know it's in a box somewhere. we put on listeners during that, so that's all gone wrong, hasn't it? But if we can somehow get that onto the programme, we will do. But I hope the band at Headingley learn this. I mean, I don't know how it goes. Badly is the only answer. We'll be back at some point next week. Are you here Monday, or are you somewhere else on Monday?
I think I'm here.
Oh,
I think most of next week I'm about.
Oh, right, we'll do it on Monday, and because that's the usual time, and we'll talk about the 745 thing. That'll probably be it. We'll review the year, and what a year it's been. I think Union called the up and under a Gary Owen, says Phil. They do. I don't know why they do that.
Some Irish guy.
Yeah, but what's his name? Bill McLaren, who of course is the voice of rugby, because they don't know there's two words. He would have said that, wouldn't he? Up and under, and Eddie Waring, and where's Jonathan Doidge when you need him? Words.
The great Eddie Waring impersonator.
Well, you can do Eddie Waring and Scurry. We could just get him in together, and
maybe we'll get him in for next week.
Yeah, buy Scurry's book, as I say, available in charity shops now. Oh, it's just landed on my microphone. I'll mess up the podcast. I'm gonna have to edit it now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Oh, hang on. Where's Ronnie? Where's Ronnie?
Ronnie's got to wave goodbye.
Where's Ronnie? Oh, hang on. See there he is. It's just going to be on a loop now forever. Keep going now.